What up, though? This is Knockouts in 3 Counts. But before we bring you another episode of Podcast Gold, let me tell you about the homies over at Michigan's Finest. Do you ever find yourself trying to get yourself together and thinking, man, this is going to be a great night, but I'm looking for that little extra something? Well, check out our friends at Michigan Finest. If you are into medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, concentrates, vapes, anything of that sort, Michigan's Finest has got you covered. And as you can see here, it's all easily done by their website. It's all curbside, and you'll be in and out in 2 minutes. And they're family owned and operated, so customer service is their number one goal. And now, since they are rocking with Knockouts in 3 Counts, use the code KO3MF. Yes, that's KO3MF. You get 10% off your entire order, but that does exclude featured items and items that are already on sale. But if you use that code, you're getting 10% off your items, and I promise you, either if you're looking for that big knockout or you're ready to hit the sheets for that 3 count, Michigan's Finest will get you together. Tell them Knockouts in 3 Counts sent you, and I promise you, you're going to be having a great night. Peace.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts in 3 Counts.
We got a career world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts in 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts in 3 Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though? We're already starting off to a good start because the fucking intro worked this time. But one more time for the cheap seats. Shoot for the sky, boys. R.I.P. to Jay Briscoe. And you know what the man said? Terry Funk don't wear no mouthpiece, but tonight's guest does wear a mouthpiece, thank God, or he might be missing a few teeth. We have the debut of Joe Skeletor Giannetti. How you doing, brother, man?
I'm doing good. You know, already trying to work on the next fight, but we'll see what happens.
I like it. Staying busy. Corey, how the fuck you doing on a Thursday?
Doing well, man. Trying to make the best of this rainy ass Thursday, man. That's how I'm doing, honestly. Got off work early. I thought I was gonna enjoy myself. I heard all week it was supposed to be 50. I'm like, man, I'm gonna do something, maybe get out on the motorcycle or some shit. And then of course it starts raining all fucking day. So, is what it is.
We live in Michigan. Why do you expect anything worse? I mean, I know we're not telling Joe nothing. I mean,
no, I do not expect it, and that's why when I seen the number of 50, I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to get my chance in fucking January. I'm about to get out there. All right, and then. Nope. I should have known better. I should have just known, but it is what it is.
So is this going to become like a running theme on the show? Because we had Bulletproof Troop on a couple weeks ago, who trains out at Black House and is doing his thing with NWA and all that shit. And he was in Florida when he was talking with us, and he's talking about it's cold and it's fucking 50. And at the time, it was like 25 here. So I'm just saying, like, I don't know if this is going to be a theme. Corey, don't fucking jinx it, because I'm headed down to LCA tomorrow for SmackDown, and I'm not trying to freeze my fucking balls off. So just do me a favor and shut the fuck up with that shitty weather, because we got a lot of better things to talk about. And like I said, I would venture a guess that Joe Giannetti probably is going to be wearing his mouthpiece in his next fight. But before we get to his next fight, let's talk about the last fight, man. I just checked out your fight. You had quite the opponent too. I did my research. Almeida had quite the resume. Everybody wants to talk about regional fights and not fighting the toughest fights and all these things. I did my research. This guy's fought everywhere. He's fought in PFL. You know, he fought World Series of Fighting, fought all these places, and did all these things. So it's a good win for you to get under your belt. Tell me about the fight. What are your thoughts on it? Another dub in the book with Cage Titans.
You know, I didn't get the finish, which I'm always looking for. So, like, that sucks, you know, staying in there for 25 minutes. But Saul's got a weird style, and he's one of those guys that, you know, win or lose, he just makes you not look good. And I think minus the one guy that knocked him out cold, I think that I looked the best against him, you know, 50-45, dominated from bell to bell. And that was really all I asked of myself, you know. I didn't try to force a finish because that's where he gets you. But I told everybody leading up to that fight, I can't promise a finish, but I can promise that I dominate him. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, that's really all you can try to do, especially when you're at the upper echelon of the MMA world, when you're trying your best to, you know, defend your belt. That's really all you can try to do. Of course, you can hope to try to get finishes in these fights, but you can't have that expectation. Just like I was saying about the weather, you can't expect it, you know?
Especially with the judges. The judges are like Michigan weather.
Oh, I don't trust any of these judges. I've had some good and some bad. I'm gonna try to make sure they have an easy night and they don't have to judge any of my fights.
I like it. Well, let me ask you that, man. You're as good as anybody to ask about it. You know, we've talked a lot about that. That's been a topic on the show. What do you think they could change with the judging that could help us with some of these bullshit scores? Do you like the idea of open scoring? Do you like the idea of there being able to do the instant replay stuff? What do you think would be able to kind of help the situation? Or do you just think we need different criteria?
It's a really tough question, but I think the biggest thing is the 10-point system just has to go. I don't know what the best solution is, but I know the 10-point system just isn't it. It's just not enough. It doesn't show how diverse a round can be and how it can go. And then, you know, as far as the top tier judges, guys and girls that judge for Bellator and UFC, you know, those names that you always see, we need to get rid of them all. I'm sorry, but there's just too many bad. Get rid of them all. Give me a whole new wave of ex-UFC, ex-Bellator, ex-regional fighters that have lengthy, successful careers, that have seen it, that have done it, and they know what they're actually watching. Because, like, I don't know about other guys, but coming up in the sport, you know, you're taught ways to make it look like you're doing more than you are. You know, there's guys that go out there.
Blurry at the end of the round.
Yeah, or they'll know how to make it look like they're putting some pop on their punches, whether it's ground and pound or standing, and they're just not. And it becomes a game at that point and less of a fight. But I think that if you had more judges that have fought and know what it feels like, they'll know we're like, all right, this guy's kind of putting on a front. Like, he's really not putting anything on those punches. Or they'll know, like, oh, he's putting a beating on this guy.
Yeah, you've seen a couple of years ago they tried to implement more 10-8s, and I feel like instead of doing that, fellow MMA media, I'm
spit it out, guy.
Now. I know. Aaron Bronstetter makes the argument all the damn time for the half-point system. I feel like that would at least be a significant improvement, so that way you can, like you say, at least have more of a diverse scoring, whether it doesn't have to necessarily just be a 10-9, 10-8. You can have a 10-8.5 or something like that, where it's just more dominant, but not necessarily a complete. I've seen that argument. Really, the best one in my eyes right now is open scoring, though. At least that way.
I agree with open scoring.
So my only thing with open scoring, because I think when I fought, it was one of the first times they used it. When I fought at LFA, my second LFA fight, I dominated the first round to the point where the announcers were like, all right, that's a 10-8 round for Giannetti. And then I sat down in my corner. My coach was like, okay, you lost that round 10-9. And mentally I was like, oh, this is a weird time to start joking around. And he was like, no, don't worry about it. You lost 10-9. We'll get it back in the next round. And I was like, no, I dominated that entire round. If I can't win that round, what do I got to do to win a round? And mentally it just throws a wrench in things where it's like, okay, I've still got 2 more rounds, but in my head I'm like, okay, I have to finish this guy because these judges have no idea what they're talking about. And it was to the point where the commission ended up tweeting, trying to defend themselves or defend the judges as to why they scored it the way they did. So I don't know. Open scoring is a little bit weird. I feel like that's going to have its flaws too. But, I'm not totally against the half-point system.
It could make for something interesting. The only thing that I worry with like a half-point system is then I feel like then you have like the bigger question of like, is the criteria going to be like, what are we judging the criteria on? Because now if you're adding half points, if it's already kind of shaky because of the 10-point must system and what we judge it on, because you've heard a million different answers as to what it is. Is it more damage? Is it who's more dominant? Who's got the more control? You hear 100 different answers, and I feel like if you add the half-point system, it could help, but again, that would also bring up the bigger issue, and I think some of that being criteria. Well, since you brought up LFA, you had your run doing the thing on the Ultimate Fighter and all that. You fought with LFA. You're back with Cage Titans. Tell me about your run in LFA and what do you think happened? Because I'm not going to lie, I know the fight you're talking about, and I thought you won the first round. So with that being said, what do you think? What are your thoughts on the fights with LFA, man?
I love LFA. Like, as a promotion, they were awesome, 90% of my pro career, more than that probably, has been with Cage Titans. And it was really cool that during COVID, I was able to, step up and fight for LFA. a promotion that I watched growing up in the sport as a fan and then a fighter. My first fight didn't go my way. My opponent fought a good fight. Second one, same thing. My opponent fought a good fight. I felt like the scorecards were a little weird. Besides the first round, if I remember correctly, I think I won the second round and then lost the third, or I lost all 3 rounds. So it was really weird. And, that's a fight I'd really like to get back. Aaron McKenzie has that LFA lightweight belt, and no other stamp that I could put on my career before the UFC than getting that fight back for the LFA belt. I don't think that's an interest of his, but I would love to get that one back. I missed weight for that fight too, so forget getting a win back. That's more of a redemption thing for me. It was a bad weight cut. My flight got moved around, and my 4-hour travel day turned into a 12-hour travel day. But screw the excuses. I'd love to get that back, do it the right way, get that belt.
I like it, dude. And a 12-hour travel day when you got to do a weight cut and all those things has got to be hell on earth. Well, with that being said, we talked about your run back in Cage Titans. I mean, you're on a 4-fight win streak now. Your first one being against past guest of the show, Darius Estelle. Now, even though Darius Estelle is our homie, I'm not going to tell you, fuck you, fuck your camp, fuck his game. I don't care. What is there any of them that I missed? So for any of them, anybody that's new here and has missed it, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can go check it out, or check out those social medias in the bottom right corner, because before their fight, I just put a clip up of that interview with Darius Estelle, and Joe happened to see it. And then the very first thing in said press conference, oh, what happened? Last thing in your last interview was fuck you, fuck your camp, blah, blah, blah. Dude, that was the funniest thing in the world. My phone blew up instantly, and I'm like, damn, what is going on my phone? And then I looked at the clip. I'm like, no shit.
Wow.
I don't even remember how I saw that clip, but I think it was either I just took a nap or I just woke up from coming home from an overnight shift. I don't remember exactly, but I was deep into the weight cut, and I woke up and I saw that clip, and I was like, I was like, he hasn't said a word all camp, and he's going to wait till 2 days before to start running his mouth. And then I saw him in person, and he was the nicest guy ever. He was like, this is going to be a great fight. Joe's a good fighter. And I was like, is this the same guy?
I'm not surprised, because that's what we were talking about before we went on the air. Shout out to Darius Estelle, man. Him with his Marine back and being military background, not Marine, military background. Dude, that guy he can get in there and fucking fight anybody. It don't matter. He don't gotta hate you to fight him. He don't got and that's just his mindset. It's not even a disrespectful thing. It's fuck him, fuck his camp. I don't care. I'm focused on what I'm doing, and that's the way his mindset is. But it was so funny when it happened, because I had the people from Cage Titans hitting me up. My phone is blowing up, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, damn, if only I could go to Boston to see this live. And then Joe the Party just picked up where you left off and caused a riot at the press conference. And then we have him on the show, and then he almost causes a riot when I'm on commentary. So, son of a bitch, Cage Titans gets it popping, dude. If you're in the Boston area, you got to check out Cage Titans.
It gets wild over here. We got some mouths on us.
I like it, dude. It makes for more fun, dude. I mean, we come from the pro wrestling side of things as well. So, I mean, we can get down with the shit talking. With that being said, did you ever fuck with the pro wrestling side of things?
Not really. Growing up, I had a few buddies that were big in it, and, we'd end up wrestling in the backyard and stuff. I will say, when I was in middle school, my buddy's older cousin, we were wrestling in their room. We put the 2 beds together, and his older cousin ended up he was trying to hit some move, and he bounced him off the mattress, and he ended up bouncing him into the wall, and he made this huge crater in the wall, and his mom flipped on us.
That was the end of the in-house wrestling, huh?
We weren't allowed to eat in the house after that. We had to play outside.
I mean, I would imagine so. See, mine was never really in-house. I remember me and the homie John. Now it's funny the way life works out. We grew up as wrestling nerds, and now I've been training since I was 13, and he's basically followed suit now, and now he's doing jiu-jitsu. So the roles are way different now. But it's funny. I remember we used to get down on the playground, bro. Let me tell you, them wood chips are unforgiving. I'm just saying.
Oh, worse.
Let a motherfucker suplex you on the wood chips and tell me how good your back is. Especially when you're the smaller one. So of course I was the one getting fucking suplexed. So yeah, dude, it was a good time. But speaking of a good time, dude, like I said, I've gotten to check out the fights. You mentioned it yourself. Things are getting down over there at Cage Titans. I mean, what do you think's been the biggest thing that's made a difference in this run that you're on now? Like I said, you're on a few fight win streak. You look a lot better in the cage. You look focused. You know, you really seem like you know what you got going on. What do you think is the biggest difference in between fighting in Cage Titans and the fights we saw in LFA? Is it just a familiarity of being fighting in Cage Titans, or is there something that changed in your training?
My training for sure is probably the biggest thing, you know, being at AKA for extended periods of time, getting closer with Habib and all them, being able to see DC, you know, they're just people that make you feel like you're all part of a family, but at the same time, like, they're not sugarcoating anything. Like, you know, I'll show up to practice one day and Habib will be like, brother, jiu-jitsu, very good. Wrestling, no. And I'm like, I'm working on it. Like, I'm trying. So it's just people like that around me, whether I'm at AKA or I'm at home at BTT Taunton, you know, some of the best grapplers on the East Coast, maybe the world, just telling me exactly what I need to hear, but in a manner where, like, I know it's for my best interest. I know that they're not saying I suck at A, B, and C to talk down to me. They're saying it to lift me up and say, hey, you suck at this. We're going to help you get better.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with MMA, right? Is being able to actually round out every aspect of your game. And they're not necessarily pointing out holes to, like you say, oh, look at this flaw that you had. They're showing you aspects of your game that they feel as though from the highest level of the game, that if you improve on this is the type of thing that can really level your game up as well.
100%. And I think that they see my potential, like, after they see the future. They see if I make these improvements that are possible, they see my potential of how far I can go, and it's pretty damn far.
Yeah. And I think, to Kyle's point, it's been pretty apparent in these last couple fights. It does seem like you have kind of not necessarily rounded a curve, but you've really kind of come in there swinging more so than, like, you've brought out a different aspect of your game. And training, yeah, but is it a mentality thing as well that you've kind of brought into the cage, knowing that, hey, if I do want to make this my career, I got to do what I can, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was like 2 fight camps ago, I reposted a video I don't remember if it was from Dominic Cruz or a video somebody made of him, but he basically talks about kind of the yin and yang of being a martial artist. And I've always considered myself more of just a fighter, not a martial artist. I feel like there's so much more honor in being a martial artist. But he talks about the yin and yang of, like, you know, being in a good headspace, being a good person, but when you get in there, you have to kind of take that darkness out, you know, all your demons and your devils. Like, you can use that for something good, but you have to tap into it, and it's a tough balance. And I feel like I had a really hard time balancing that out before, where, like, you know, I'd have fights where I literally didn't want to hurt people. Like, I was like, okay, I hope I can guillotine them, because, like, I'll get mount, and, like, slicing them open with an elbow just sounds like another language to me. But now it's like 5 hours before the fight, I'm like, damn, I got to go fight somebody. But come fight time, I'm like, I got bills to pay. I got goals to achieve. We're going to do some heinous things if we have to. Like, we're going to do everything within the rules to hurt you and get this win.
Yeah, not even necessarily on, like, the violence aspect of it, but just like you say, in a personal game aspect, right? Like, this is such an individual sport beyond the team, right? The team helps build you up, of course. That's such a big aspect. But at the end of the day, it's your success that's on the line, whether you continue to grow or not. And so that ability to, like you say, kind of put it all out there, do what you got to do, you know, damage or not, is, you know, it's just been apparent in your last couple fights that you're more, I don't want to say more willing, but just you've been laying it all out there more.
For sure. And the other thing, too, is I used to always be nervous about winning and losing, like most athletes. But nowadays, you know, and I've heard Stipe say it years ago, and it's something that I've tried to work on, and I still am, is just, like, do what you, and Habib says it too, do everything to the best of your ability. What's going to happen is going to happen. You know, you see a fight where a guy's winning, and boom, he gets caught, and all of a sudden he lost. But, you know, maybe that was just destined to happen. Just work as hard as you can and do your best. And especially nowadays, I have people around me that I know if I lose a decision, get knocked out, get choked out, or dominate and win, they're not going to treat me any different. They're going to treat me the exact same, win or lose. They're going to love me. and that just takes so much stress off of my shoulders. So my whole goal is to go out there, and if I lose, I want to make sure that I lose doing my best. If I'm doing my best, I don't see myself losing. And a few of my 4 losses, I've been upset not about losing, but I'll just sit there and be like, that wasn't my best. Like that wasn't even close to my best, and that hurts more than the loss.
Yeah, you hear it all the time from people that we have on the show and stuff. And to your point, that really is like the mentality of it too. Is it's like the loss they can live with. It's like you say, it's not really giving it their all. When there's moments in the fight that there's them brief moments, right? Any person that's played any type of sports can relate to it. There's those moments where things can really make a huge change, and whether you were just to dodge left instead of right type of thing. And to your point, it's not necessarily about the moments so much as it is trying your best while in those moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree with go ahead. My bad. It lagged on me. Go ahead. You're all good.
Oh, no, I was just saying I agree 100%. I mean, like, I'm okay. Not to say I'm okay if I make a mistake, but if I do everything in my ability to the best of my ability and it leads to a mistake, whatever, I can live with that. As long as I'm doing my best, I'm okay.
I completely respect that, because for me, like anybody that follows the show knows, like with me, it was a little different when it comes to training with jiu-jitsu and all that, because I got cerebral palsy and Crohn's disease and all those things. So like that was like the number one thing that would always piss me off. Doesn't matter whether it was a boxing fight, doesn't whether it was a jiu-jitsu match, whatever. Oh, well, you did good. You did good. Look, bro, I know what I should be doing. I know what I shouldn't be doing. If I did something that pissed me off, it doesn't matter if 100 people tell me that I did good. That's going to piss me off, because that's what makes you, that's what makes you a competitor. And, speaking about AKA and training over there, you talk about Khabib. So I got to ask, what are your thoughts on this guy? Man's got a habit of like, I take over MMA, I go sit down. I take over coaching, now I'm going to go sit down. So what are your thoughts on Khabib's role as a coach, and what do you see next for him? And I don't know, man, this guy's got impeccable timing.
It's bittersweet now to see that he's retiring from coaching, because I'll tell you this much. Every camp that I've done at AKA run by Khabib has been the hardest camp of my life. And I know it's not just me, because it'll be like the top guys in the UFC saying, this is the hardest camp of my life. So it's just crazy to see him become one of the best, if not the best of all time, and then just drop the sport and then become one of the best coaches and then be done with it. But I'll give him credit. He sets a goal, he gets it done, and then he spends time with his family.
Yeah, there's nothing more honorable than that as a family man myself. That's the end all be all goal, right? And especially in his profession, he really did reach the mountaintop twice, right? Like he got his family a championship and he both got himself a championship. And to your point, he stepped away when he felt as though he had left enough breadcrumbs behind, I guess, to like leave a lasting impression. And I feel like that's the case.
All right. So with that being said, that brings up the next question of things. So anyone that knows anything about your career knows that the first time everybody saw you on national TV and on our TV screen would be The Ultimate Fighter. With that being said, another reason you might want to hit that subscribe button, because a little birdie told me you might see a couple of the homies on the next season of The Ultimate Fighter. But hey, you didn't hear that first. But with that being said, you came off The Ultimate Fighter. Now we have the invention of Dana White's Contender Series. Being that they didn't have that when you were in The Ultimate Fighter, what are your thoughts? If you could go back, would you have done The Ultimate Fighter again? Are you because of the experience, or would you have rather try to get in through the Contender Series? And now that you're on your road back to the UFC, would you be down with another run on The Ultimate Fighter, or would you rather go the Contender Series route or just straight in?
I would rather do The Ultimate Fighter the first time. I would rather do The Ultimate Fighter again, for multiple reasons. Because one, I feel like it just gives you so much more exposure as opposed to having that one good performance and then maybe getting signed and maybe not. And nowadays, another part of how I've grown as far as my career is I used to be so obsessed with people liking me as a fighter, and now I really don't give a shit. I want people to like me as a person, because I've had an abundance of people liking me as a fighter, and then I have one bad night like the Ultimate Fighter, and they not only don't like me as a fighter anymore, they wish everything in my personal life to go to shit, like the worst way possible.
Fans are horrible.
Like some vile stuff. So, as far as the Contender Series or Ultimate Fighter, I'd much rather the Ultimate Fighter. For anybody that didn't see me on the show before, maybe they'd see me now, get to know my story, and like me, they'd like JoJo, not just Skeletor. Because I would like to think that if they like me, it would be a more honest support. You know, they would root for me because they want to see me win, not because of the fighter. And when I lost, they would not feel bad that I lost, but they would be like, oh damn, maybe next time. Not so much as like, oh screw him, he sucks. And I think that it's just more about building a fan base and a community than it is just having numbers of followers online. You know, it's easy to get followers, but it's like, can you get people that are actually supporting you?
Yeah, it's a huge difference for sure. And that's with the modern era of social media and stuff. So many people harp on the negatives and stuff. But to your point, if you really do kind of use it in a positive light and use it to interact with your fans and actually build that like true, under roots of like actual fans, right? People that aren't there for your wins and losses. Of course, they want to root you along the way and stuff like that, but that's not what they're there for. And that's a huge difference in the modern era. Is I feel like you have such a platform, of course, given your ability to make fans and stuff like that, but your actual way to interact with people can be so much bigger now.
All right, man. So we talked about.
For a second.
Nope, you're good. It came back. But no. So what I wanted to ask you off of, yeah, you're good. So here's what I want to ask you off of that. So we've mentioned a little bit about AKA. We talked about training with Khabib and all those things. But your season of The Ultimate Fighter also brings us another interesting conundrum with the timing of things, because anyone that's been following the news knows that Francis Ngannou just dropped the heavyweight title, and now we've got the return of John Jones versus Ciryl Gane, and Stipe is waiting in the wings. So with you, training at AKA and getting to train with people like DC and being on the season with Stipe, what are your thoughts on everything we've been seeing going down with the heavyweight division? And what are your thoughts on what we see now with the return of John Jones?
It's crazy, man. Like I always knew that this sort of outcome was possible. Like the UFC negotiations haven't gone great with Francis. I didn't think that, Francis would just kind of walk away, but if he got to stick to his morals, I didn't really look into it as far as like what the negotiations were about. He said that he kind of stuck to his guns, and that's why he walked away. And if so, good for him. I know the UFC's got to do what they got to do. I'm really interested in the John Jones-Ciryl Gane fight because I know I saw a couple people say that Jones is the slight betting underdog, which is crazy to think of out of his entire career. But I will say, if you take the bias away from potential GOAT status, or if you already think he's the GOAT, his last few fights at 205, he didn't really look like that John Jones. Like he didn't look like Bones Jones. He just looked like John Jones. And I think that if he looks like that version of John Jones, just a little bit bigger, I think he could have a rough night ahead of him. Ciryl Gane's no joke. I think John Jones' best chance is he comes out in a singlet in a wrestling stance and he takes Ciryl Gane down and he elbows the shit out of him for 5 rounds. If he fights the way he's been fighting, it's going to be a close fight. Not saying he's going to lose, but it's going to be much closer than people are thinking.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting aspect. And then you add in the layoff time and stuff like that, and the fact we haven't seen how his body reacts to, taking a fight at whatever he's coming in at. We don't even know exactly what his weight is. Is he going to come in at 255? Is he going to be at the max at 265? I mean, he's looking like a pretty big boy nowadays, so I'm sure.
Well, I mean, both his brothers are big as shit. Let's not forget that both his brothers play in the fucking NFL. That family's a big-ass family. So for that guy to fill out is not too out of the realm of possibility. Well, to clear up for you, so here's the thing with Ngannou. Here's what he asked for, and this is why they said the contract didn't happen. He wanted health care for all fighters. He wanted a fighter advocate in every fight negotiation, and he wanted there to be basically for them to allow sponsorships again. And that wasn't going to happen with the UFC. Now, with that being said, we mentioned PFL earlier in the show. Them and Bellator seem to be the two big front runners as far as Ngannou, at least out of the bet. And he may not get all three of them with anybody, but he might be able to get one or two of those things with a PFL or a Bellator. But, man, when I heard those, especially with a Dana White, when you're talking about healthcare and all those other things, I was like, man, that ain't going to work.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I mean, I'm just another fighter. I'm not the logistics guy. I don't know what it takes to get all that stuff done. But I know it's a lot more complicated than a lot of people think. I've heard plenty of people that are always like fighters union. I'm no sellout. I personally don't think a fighters union is. I don't think we have the formula yet. From what I've seen on people that are like do a fighters union, I don't think that formula is it. Maybe one day, but not the way they're thinking. They need something different. I don't know what it would be. So I don't know. If Francis wanted to get healthcare for all fighters, I don't know if that was a true thing or maybe just a negotiation tactic. It's crazy, man. If he could get it done, that'd be cool. I'm sure all the fighters would appreciate it.
I respect it.
I respect the hell out of it, but I think it's a tough thing. To play devil's advocate. Think about how many guys unfortunately come in and out of the UFC. Either a two fight run or 4-fight run, and then they're out. It's like, how does that work? You get coverage while you're in the UFC, and then as soon as you let go, there's none. And how many times do you see a name where a guy gets cut and you're like, oh, really? They cut him? You can't really surprise cut somebody because now it's like, oh, shit, I don't have any health care. So I think it's just more of a liability for the UFC than anything. But maybe one day, but just like the judges' scoring system, I don't know what the solution is. There definitely needs to be something, but I don't know what it is.
And like I was saying when we broke it down on the show Tuesday as well, there's so many international fighters, right? Like, how would you even go about getting healthcare for a lot of those guys, right? Like, I'm sure the insurance deals are a lot different in a lot of these other countries. So it wouldn't be something as simple as, yeah, we're now sponsored by State Farm and they covered all our insurance for our fighters. Like, I don't think it would be something as simple as that. So.
All right. Well, I did tell you when we were talking about this, I figured who better to ask than Skeletor to help us make some picks for UFC 283 this weekend. Before we get to that, I'll give you a chance here. What do you want to see next inside the cage, first of all, whether that's with Cage Titans or elsewhere or whatever you think is next? What do you want to see in the cage? And, how do you plan to continue to improve on this run you're having with Cage Titans?
I don't know if we can improve on this run at Cage Titans. I've just about done it all. If the UFC wants to throw a contract my way, I'll sign it. I got to work overnight shifts again. I'm back to work. I'm back to planning out fight camps. Shit's stressful. So if Dana wants to give me a ring, I'm going to answer the phone really fast. Obviously I'd like that UFC contract against anybody. I think I can beat just about anybody in that lightweight division. But we'll just keep improving, and that's the thing that I keep trying to explain to people. Like, when I go out to AKA, I'm not, and this is no disrespect to anybody I've fought, I'm not just training for my opponent, I'm training for my potential opponents. Yeah, there's certain things I got to be wary of when I'm fighting certain guys, but overall I'm just focused on improving. If I get better every single day, then none of these guys are going to beat me. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep doing the right thing, getting back out to AKA, keep improving, and I'll just keep beating people up until Dana gives me the call.
Yeah, training's about improving yourself. Game plans are about the fight, right?
Exactly. Too many people get lost in the game plan and they just stop improving. And a plan's awesome until everything goes south.
Until you get hit in the mouth.
Yeah.
Everything's good until you get hit in the mouth. Just make sure you're wearing a mouthpiece. Don't be like Terry Funk. Terry Funk is a tough son of a bitch, but you need a mouthpiece.
Well, real quick,
go ahead, Corey.
We've also had a couple people on the show that are kind of in the similar spot, right? Like, hold the up and coming, as I like to refer to them, the AAA leagues, belts in the MMA sphere. Are you only UFC or bust, or are you looking at the Bellator route and the PFL as well? Maybe even the one championship. Would you be willing to travel overseas and or they're possibly even show their first show here in Denver if the phone was ringing? Are you answering?
I mean, it all depends, man. I'm not against a one fight off anywhere, but when I got into the sport as a fan and as a fighter, the UFC was my dream. It was my goal. It still is. So I really don't see a number or an extended fight contract that just has me sell out my dreams, Not to knock off any of these promotions, they're all killing it in the game. But, everybody's got a goal and a dream, and the UFC's mine. And, so I'd have to say I'm UFC or bust. Not to say I'm not going to watch anybody else, I'm a fan first, fighter second. But as a fighter, my dream and my goal is the UFC, and not just the UFC, the top of the UFC. So UFC or bust.
I like it, dude, because Justin Janes, a past guest of our show, he's been a training partner of mine for years, and we were talking about this when I was in Vegas, because we was talking about PFL and a couple other places after he just left the UFC, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, don't get me wrong, dude, fighting for PFL and all these other ones would be cool, but he said the same thing, basically, in so many words, that, I got in this to...
the same thing.
Yep. All of them saying the same thing. Shout out to Josh Frem. Josh Frem saw... the promo for this. Shout out to Joe the Party too. I saw him checking in a little bit earlier too, so shout out to those guys. But I mean, without any further ado, dude, we've got the first pay-per-view of 2023. I am looking forward to the main event. I feel like hardcores are going to be the ones looking forward to this more so than maybe your casual fans, but all I know is I'm looking forward to seeing this shit. Is there any fights in particular you're looking forward to this one other than just the Glover Teixeira Hill fight?
No, Glover Teixeira is actually my go-to fight of the night. I don't know. There's something about seeing the old guys get it done that gets me excited.
I like it. I've been watching him since the tap out days.
I know. This one pulls at the heartstrings, man, because as a Michigan man myself, it's hard to, root against.
And a past guest of the show.
Yeah, and past guest of the show, Jamal Hill. It's really hard to, go against that direction. But, of course, Glover Teixeira, to your guys' point, man, I've been watching him for, 15 years, 10 years or some shit now.
Hey, have you seen Jamal Hill's TikToks, though?
Yes, dude.
That dude is the funniest fighter on social media, hands down. He has me in tears when he's posting on TikTok. Oh my God.
The next time he comes on the show, this has to be a question. Like, where the fuck do you come up with these TikToks, dude?
Because they're fantastic.
The shit that he films in the gym is hilarious, dude.
I show all my friends, every single one. They'll be like, oh, that dude Jamal Hill's fighting. I'm like, screw that. Look at his TikTok.
Dude, you heard it here first, dude. The TikTok is what you need to be watching. Fuck UFC 283. You need to watch the TikTok first. I mean, I don't know. I probably would want to watch the fight this weekend too, because somebody might get knocked out or choked out. But anyways, and can I just say that it's a wild thought to think that we have in 2023, you have Glover Teixeira and Shogun Rua fighting on the same card. I want people to know that. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I've got buddies that don't even know who Shogun is. They're like, who is this guy? I'm like, are you
Especially
serious?
when they don't even put Shogun on his name on the UFC website anymore. Like, they probably don't got a fucking clue. It just says Mauricio Hua. Like, if you didn't know better.
That's terrible.
A disrespect to a fucking legend. Come on, Dana, get your shit together. Tell your fucking internet guy he needs to put Shogun on there. At least he's on, and the worst of it, he's on the featured prelim. He's not even on the fucking pay-per-view anymore. And this is Shogun we're talking about. Hot damn it.
I mean, in their defense, this is a very, very decently stacked pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that. I just think it's funny because we're talking about Shogun Rua, and like he said, half of the 2023 audience may not even know who the fuck Shogun Rua is.
Yeah, they very well might, and it really is genuinely crazy. Like, not even that they're like fickle, right? But it's like, I've been a baseball fan.
He's been around forever.
Well, no, just for instance, right? Like, I've been a baseball fan my whole life, but I'm not going back and watching like Wade Boggs and shit play baseball. So like, I get it, right?
That's true. I'll give you that.
That's a fair point.
It's like, it is what it is. I get it if you're new to the sport, but like,
I'm that nerd. I'll go on YouTube and watch Pride fights. I don't care. I'm a nerd.
Especially when they're still competing, right? Like, when people are still like actively in the game, and like you hear about all the legendary fights and stuff, like, especially in Shogun's case, man, so many of his legendary fights are worth going back and
the soccer
taking
kicks.
a look at.
Oh God, I showed some of my friends Pride for the first time, and they lost their mind.
Yeah, those
Dude.
days were wild, man.
That's why it was nice to see in that Bellator Risen card. Like, dude, I was getting Pride flashbacks, dude. Like, it was so dope watching that show because even though I didn't like the fact that it was early as fuck in the morning, at the same time, that arena looked so badass. And all I know is I've said it on the show before, ring the bell. At some point before I die, I will go see Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome, and I will see some kind of MMA fight in Japan. It'll happen. I don't know when, but it'll happen at some point. But with that being said, I'll go over the main card. We are starting off with a fucking banger. We've got guys that have history with both guys in the main event. You got Johnny Walker and Paul the Bear Jew Craig. How are you liking this fight, bro?
It's a tough one, but I'm going to have to go with Craig. I love his jiu-jitsu. Not many guys that weight class have his type of jiu-jitsu. I'm going to have to go with him.
I agree. But my issue is I hope he doesn't rely on it like he has in some of his last fights, right?
Yes.
Like implement it. Don't rely on it. If you get what I'm saying, like, you know, work that into your game and don't just try your best to lay on your back and hope that he kind of falls into a spot where you're advantageous too. Now, granted, has that worked many times for the old Bear Jew Paul Craig? It has worked many times, but that being said, I still feel like he'll be able to get it done. I feel like Johnny Walker he's just taken a step down in his career for some reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know. We've heard a bunch of rumblings about him going and training in Ireland, them Kavanaugh kind of changing up his style and stuff like that. I don't even know if that's necessarily the case, man. It's just seems like he hasn't been bringing that fire in his fights as of late, and that's what made him exciting earlier in his UFC run. So
just seems like he's a little like unfocused. It just doesn't seem like, I don't know, the last few fights, like you were talking about, Joe, how there's the difference between when you walk to go get in the cage and then when you get in the cage, it's like, look, I got to hurt this motherfucker by any means necessary. I got to hurt this motherfucker. Sometimes Johnny Walker to me comes off like he's almost having a little too much fun in there. That's just my thought. And I don't mean that as a disrespect, because you should be having, you should be able to flow and be able to have fun while you're in there. But if it gets to the point where you become too lackadaisical, which I feel like is kind of what we've seen in the last few fights, I feel like that's what's costing him in this fight. And I'm going to go with Paul Craig as well, because again, just based on the last few fights, I feel like Paul Craig is going to come into this fight feeling like he's got something to prove, and somebody who's got something to prove against somebody who's kind of all over the place usually doesn't work well. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Paul Craig. Maybe we're all dumbasses, but we're all going with Paul Craig on this one. The next one, I think we're all going to be unanimous on this one, and this is no disrespect to Lauren Murphy, but I will go first. I think Jessica Andrade is going to smash Lauren Murphy, dude.
Yeah, 100%. I will say Lauren is tough as shit.
Hell so yeah. No disrespect.
I could see it being a decision, but I think it's going to be dominant for Andrade.
See, I don't think that it's going to be quite as dominant for Andrade. I think that she's going to face some fire in this fight because of the fact that Lauren Murphy is, to your point, she's just so damn tough, man. She never gives up on herself, and I feel like you can only take so much out of media week, right? Like the interviews and stuff when people are sitting in front of these microphones, but you can definitely see the intent in people's eyes and stuff. And of course that may be different once they're under the bright lights and stuff. But I feel like Lauren Murphy, now that she's fought for the belt and she's really went in there against a lot of these top other girls and came out victorious, lost a couple, I feel like she feels as though she's in that upper echelon. And I feel like she's now taking on somebody that, in her eyes, feels in her interview she had mentioned that she feels like Andrade should move down to 115 again, and she doesn't basically belong in 125. And I mean, we'll see. Like, Lauren Murphy's got a real potential for a size advantage going into this fight, and I don't know, man. I feel like her chances are a lot higher than the general population, not even just you guys. I feel like she's got a lot not only to prove, but she's gained that mentality.
Well, the odds are looking like that too. We've been talking a lot about odds, especially having Jimmy Flick on the show with his opponent changing because of the whole James Krause thing last weekend and all that stuff. I mean, according to what it says here on UFC, now I haven't looked at it on DraftKings or anything, but if these odds are close to being right, they've got Jessica Andrade as a -490 favorite and a plus, and Lauren Murphy is a plus 390 underdog.
Ooh, I wish I was a betting man. I need to download these.
I mean, we keep making these fucking parlays. About time you throw $5 on it, you fucking tightwad.
It's not that.
It is that
scratch off, man. I've went to the casino 5 times. I've never spent.
This guy will talk about fights until he's blue in the face, but won't bet his money on it.
No, because I know exactly what'll happen. I'll bet with my heart, like I always do. I won't bet with my mind. I'll bet with my heart, like I do on the show with most of my picks as well. And I'm not trying to take some cool stuff out of my house or the chances to have
man
in my house.
Aren't you the one that's always saying $20 ain't gonna hurt nothing? $20 could win your ass a bunch of money. You're the one. If you only could hear when we're not on the air how often we'll be rolling somewhere and this motherfucker goes, man, this $20 you was gonna spend that to eat anyway.
Because that's different.
Because that's different. You could win some money, and then you're right, it is different.
It ain't gambling. I feel like, all right, I've always had the mentality of like every dollar I lose gambling feels like 20. Like
I respect that. That's a good point, but still.
I can almost remember like all the times like, oh, I bet $30 and I lost. Like I can remember that shit. I don't remember buying $30 worth of groceries or some dumb shit.
Well, Corey, let me tell you what that $30 can also do. You could also end up like I did when we went to Jacksonville for Revolution, where you can't even bet in Florida, but because I had my brother-in-law bet for me here in Michigan, I won $150 while I was sitting in the fucking tattoo chair, and my tattoo only ended up being $25. So I'm just saying. You win some, you lose some, but you got to bet some. Just ask Terry Funk. But with that being said, back to these fights. I think this fight might steal the whole fucking show, but I got to say, Neil Magny is getting a bone from the UFC in this one as far as the rankings jump, but I don't think this one's going to go very good for him. You got Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. How are you guys feeling on this fight?
I feel like it's similar to the Andrade fight. I think Gilbert Burns should dominate. But I think Neil Magny's another one. He doesn't quit. Even if he's getting dog walked, he will not quit. But Burns is another guy that not a lot of guys want to fight. So gun to my head, I'm picking Burns, but I don't know if it'll be a finish. If somebody was going to get the finish, it's Burns, but I don't know if he will against Magny.
I totally respect that. Go ahead, Corey.
To your point, Magny is yet again, he's very good at being a nail sometimes. He can definitely take some damage and roll with the punches and do what he has to do to end up being the hammer again. And I don't think that's going to work out for him very well in this fight, though. I don't, because I feel like Gilbert Burns isn't somebody that you can allow to land those type of shots.
No.
He'll take you out of there with body shots. He'll take you out of there with ground and pound.
He can submit your ass too. Let's not forget about that, please. Somebody put some respect on the jiu-jitsu. Hot damn it.
He's got just a fully well-rounded game, and then when you add in his power, the only thing I can say is he's a little undersized for the weight class, just with height. It isn't even really a size thing; it's just a height thing. And
I was going to say, because I'd say he still has the power advantage over Magny. Yeah. I'd say.
That's right, for sure. But it's going to be an interesting fight. We'll see what type of game Magny is able to bring. I definitely lean with, I'm assuming both of you guys on this one with Burns, but I feel like Magny may have something up his sleeve, but it's going to be a tough one, man. He can't get hit by Burns in this one.
I think we're all on the same page on that one, dude. Burns is a fucking dynamo, but like he said, Magny is not going to go out of there laying down. If he's going down, he's going to either get put to sleep or it's going to be a decision. So I think that's going to be a war. Again, you heard it here first. That motherfucker might steal the show, but it's going to be hard to do it with the two fights that you got rounding this card out. Now, before I ask your thoughts on this next fight and get your pick, what are your thoughts on these guys fighting each other 4 fucking times, dude? And it's the first time in modern era where they fought each other back to back to back to back to back.
Well, there was a break for Moreno, at least. At least Moreno had one off. He had the one off, right? He fought Kai France. But other than that,
Anybody else, I think I'd be pissed. And even for this, I was a little pissed off, when I knew they were fighting again. But just the way this whole thing's played out and every fight has been insane, fuck it, I'm down. Let's run it 10 times. Like, every fight has just been wild. I remember I actually ordered one of the fights while I was working. I was up on a roof I was swapping out a belt on a fan for a restaurant, and I had my phone out and it was raining. I'm losing my mind, screaming on the roof. I got Moreno. Moreno's my guy. I love Moreno. I think he's going to take
too,
this.
damn it.
He's got to keep his foot on the gas, man. He kind of got ahead in the last fight. I thought he won the last fight. They didn't. But I think he keeps his foot on the gas and he gets it done against Figgy.
Got to watch them judges.
I felt the same way out of the last one. I thought he got the win as well. I thought that was kind of one of those fights, right? It could have possibly. You seen where they were like, all right, I guess I understand how they gave it to him, but it was, in my eyes, at the end of it, I didn't know if it was my fandom or if it was how it really was. But I felt like Moreno definitely got the win on that one. That being said, I feel like hopefully he takes that and turns that into something going into this fight, because he's got to know, hey, I can't ride on my morals. I can't just go in there and expect to, be able to do what I did in that last fight, and especially in Brazil, man. He's got to know that as well, being that he's,
that's another good point.
Favorite. That adds a whole. Yeah,
he ain't getting no fucking decision. Not in Brazil. It ain't happening.
I'm hoping what we've seen in Moreno Figgy too, where Brandon Moreno was just able to kind of run through him and eventually get the finish. That'd be really nice to see again as a Moreno fan. But I don't know, man. I feel like this is a tough fight. I also feel like this is a very tough cut for Figueiredo, who's already
skinny.
He's on weight or whatever he's saying, and he's still a day and a half away. The videos and stuff of him looking all veiny and shredded and stuff, those were from like 2 days ago now. So that was what, Tuesday or something? So
that's a good point.
That early never ends up well.
That's what I'm saying.
That is a very good point, dude. Not to mention, there's one point that none of us have brought up on the opposite side. Well, there's all this stuff that we can talk about going negatively as far as Figueiredo. Let's not forget on the Moreno side, you've got all this shit with James Krause. That's his coach.
Yeah,
this is going to be interesting. This is going to be a lot different going into this fight if James Krause can't be in his fucking corner.
Where did Moreno end up going? He had to go train somewhere else for this one.
I believe it was Factory X, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
Safe-sided, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's safe-sided. But either way, he got it. He at least got in another solid gym. That's the one thing I can say. He definitely, did his best to not just fall on his morals, go back to where he was training in Mexico and stuff, and kind of continue to work on what he was building there. He continued to want to challenge himself and find what the best, training partners he could here in the States. So I'm curious for the fight, man. But that there's so many layers. I feel like for this being a quadrilogy or however you want to word it, I'm excited for the fight. That's for sure. I feel like Moreno is who I'm rooting for, but it's going to be a tough one either way.
I can rock with that, dude. I'm going the same way. I think it's going to be a great fight, but I think Moreno is going to win. But I think we're really going to have to see how this Factory X things goes, because, we all have good things to say about Factory X. We mentioned Josh Frem. Josh Frem, one of Factory X's finest. With that being said, we've made it to the main event. Again, we have to be a little bit biased in this one because Jamal Hill is a past guest of the show. He's from Michigan. And he's training partners with like 4 or 5 of our guests too. So, I probably am going to see him when I do commentary on these fights next month. But I'm just saying.
The real question I want to pose to you guys then, are you guys more surprised that he's the betting favorite going into this one?
No.
Go ahead.
Not too surprised. He's younger. He's shown that I don't want to say he's shown that he has more power, but he's thrown to put guys away. Not like Glover can't. And Glover's older. You know what I mean? Glover says he's in his prime, so good for him. Yeah, right. 43, you're in your prime. Good for you.
That's what I want. I want a prime like that. Hot damn, we're gonna have a prime forever.
What?
Just ask Logan Paul.
Did he have a bottle of prime in his hand? Is that what he was talking about or something?
Yeah, no kidding. But no, it doesn't surprise me too much. But I am still Team Glover. It's got my heart.
Yeah, and with him training with Potan, or however you say it, Alex Pereira, I feel like that added another element to his game, you know, to help improve the striking, especially going into this fight, being that Jamal Hill's biggest advantage is his striking, right? And it's powerful striking, which I feel like that's what Alex can best replicate going into his camp. So
That dude could be at 205 right now, no problem.
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. And he's basically the same size as Jamal. So I feel like it's a really equal training partner. I mean, of course, their styles are way different with Jamal not having the very dense kickboxing background like Alex does. But other than that, man, I don't know. I really don't know which direction to lean in an actual like analyst perspective. I feel like Glover.
I'm picking with heart. All heart, no brain.
I like it.
All heart in this one. I got to go Jamal because of, like you say, all the connections and stuff. But from the analyst perspective, man, I feel like Glover has the well-rounded game. He has more ways that he can finish you. Like, to your point, he definitely still carries power. His striking's still solid. It's not like he doesn't know how to defend himself. He went in there with Yuri for 5 rounds and ended up getting subbed. It wasn't even because of a punch or a kick or anything like that. So I don't know, man. I feel like this is an interesting one yet again with the hometown advantage as well. It's an interesting. It's a very interesting fight. But Jamal Hill's not somebody that relies on the card. So I don't know. I'm going Jamal Hill either way because I feel like we need a Michigan champion. Cool
damn it. I'm with it.
It'd be cool to say. I get jealous when I hear all these other people from other countries and states talk about where they're from and shit. But beyond that, let's go at Jamal Hill.
We already got a Michigan champion. Shout out to Jared Brooks getting that ONE FC strap, man. Yeah. Don't sell him short. But I'm with you, dude. I think Jamal's going to win, but I have a different reason as to why I think he's going to win. I think, obviously, it's no secret that Glover is better on the ground and better with his jiu-jitsu. But, again, anyone that's been following us for any length of time, I say this all the time, it applies to all fucking sports. I don't care what sport we're talking about. Momentum is fucking crucial. And after the way that last fight went for Glover, and then he had to switch everything up to get to where we're at now, and the fact that Jamal is on the run that he's been on and he's been knocking motherfuckers out left and right. Not that I'm saying that Glover can't go on another run like that, because, again, if you've been following the show, I've been Team Glover this whole way through. So I'm not hating on Glover. And all the facts that you just said, Corey, about it being in Brazil and all these things, I agree. But with that being said, I feel the momentum and the fact that, like you said, he is younger, I think is going to serve him, because I don't know if Glover is going to be able to sit there and take those shots. Now, that being said, if Jamal gets taken to the ground, we might be in a whole nother motherfucker. But that's why we love to watch fights. But with that being said, I mean, I can't let you get out of here without you having to help us on the last part of the show. Anybody that follows us knows that we like to give our parlays out, even though Corey's too much of a punk to bet on them. We like to throw our parlays out. So I will let you have guest duties first. If Joe Giannetti's putting out a parlay, a 3-leg parlay, who you got?
Glover, Andrade, and Bearju.
That's not bad, because you're getting plus odds on 2 out of the 3.
That's pretty solid.
Take it all day.
I am not mad, dude. I'm not mad at that. I mean, for parlay's sakes, that's not a bad one. I like it. So he's got Bearju.
Throw $20 on it.
Fuck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And if you do, I expect a message in the DM. Christine Faria, your BKFC champion. I'm so sorry. I thought we were both going to win some money, but unfortunately, we both lost some money on that one. It was so fucked up. I woke up to a message. I lost $200. I was like, fuck, I only bet 20. Yeah, dude, I won't be betting no $200 this weekend, but I'll be throwing a little bit of bread on it. Corey, if you got a parlay, who's it going to be?
I got to throw our boy Money Mall in this. Got to make it. I have to, right? Like I say, Michigan's riding on his back coming into this weekend. So let's go Money Mall. Brandon Moreno, I feel like should be able to get it done. So I got to throw him in there, even though it's a tough fight. I feel like he should be able to get it done. I'm kind of leaning between Gilbert Burns and Shogun. I want to throw Shogun in there so bad, but I feel like,
bro, And you'd get plus odds on that one.
Well, I'm sure
might
it's
be-
plus odds. But that very well might break my parlay because I know the UFC ain't just giving him some walkaway matchup, So
Oh hell
I'm
no,
gonna
they're
go-
not, because it's a pick'em. So his opponent, so he's a plus, according to UFC anyway. It says he's a plus 175. His opponent Ihor Pretoria. I'm gonna guess that's how the fuck you say
I'm
it.
a fucking
He's from
fight
Ukraine.
degenerate, and I
Mine
don't
is
even,
205.
yeah, I can't even think of when I've seen his opponent fight. So, and I watch everything. I watch all of the shit. So, like, I can't even think of when I've seen him fight. So, I want to throw Shogun on there, but as a betting man, I got to go Burns, man.
His opponent, they're both coming off a loss. So I mean, if Shogun's gonna tee up a dub, here you go. I just talked about momentum. Swing that motherfucker for the fence.
Fuck it. Throw him on there. Let's get it.
Let's go.
You already know, but all right. I'll go with what I'm gonna go with parlay wise. Based on what they've got here for odds, because like I said, I haven't looked at anything on DraftKings. If I'm gonna throw one, I'm going to go. I will go Jamal Hill. I will go. Let's see, Jamal Hill, and I want to throw. So you got to throw some positive money in this too. See, I'm gonna throw this a little different now. Even though I said I think he's gonna win. If we're talking about winning some money, based on the fact that we're fighting in Brazil and all this shit too, I think just so I can throw some plus money in there, I'm gonna go Jamal. I'm gonna go Davison Figueiredo, and I think I'm gonna, you know what? Damn it, I'm gonna follow your lead, Skeletor. I'm going with the Bear Jew. So the Bear Jew, Davison Figueiredo, and Jamal Hill is gonna be my parlay. You've got Joe. One more time. Who'd you say you had? You had Glover, the Bear Jew, and who else?
Andrade.
All right, and Corey, yours was who?
Hill, Moreno, and I'm really second guessing. I look at I'm throwing Shogun on there, but I just looked at
Do it for the legend.
Yeah, I got to throw the legend on there for
one time for the one time. Get you a Shogun.
Looking at this Eeyore Pretoria, or however you say his name correctly, before his last.
We'll call him Thor. It looks like Thor.
He was on a 15 fight win streak, so.
Oh, shit.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. So,
homie finally has a skid, and I'm like, yeah, momentum. Oh shit.
Like we were saying earlier, man, these MMA fans are fickle. He lost one, but he was on 15 before that. So I'm still going Shogun for the win, but goddamn, that made me second guess it.
I like it. Well, Corey is having second thoughts about the Thor. Joe, I'm going to leave the floor to you, man. Any last things that you want to let anybody know, anywhere they can find you, and anything you want to promote?
Every social media you can find me. It's at Giannetti MMA. That's 2 N's and 2 T's. That's where it screws everybody up. Super Italian last name. Working on the next fight. If you guys are interested in helping me get out to AKA, I am looking for sponsors. California is the only state more expensive than where I live, Massachusetts. So any sponsors are helpful, helps me get out there. I can help promote you guys. And if you didn't catch my post-fight interview of my last fight, check on your friends, check on your family. Mental health matters, especially men's mental health.
Facts.
Check on the boys. Check on the boys.
Yeah.
Do it for the homies, man.
I'm definitely glad it's starting to get a a spotlight on it. People are starting to actually pay attention to the fact that it shouldn't always just be something brushed under the rug, especially like you say with the men's side. It seems to be like we're all conditioned to just kind of deal with it instead of talk about it. So,
yep.
We're all conditioned to be like old Hacksaw. Hey, tough guy, don't be a tough guy. Check on your mental health. And with that being said, man, don't follow Terry Funk's lead. Wear a motherfucking mouthpiece and hit subscribe. Peace.